All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into
The Battle of Mamaroneck?
the Battle of Mamaroneck. And you know, a lot of times when people think about the Revolutionary War, they think about the really huge battles, but we're going to take a look at a smaller one today and see if we can learn anything about the bigger picture.
Right. And it's important to remember that wars are won and lost in the small engagements
Oh.
as much as in the big ones.
Right. So we've got historical records here, and specifically, we're looking at the Wikipedia entry that cites the Almanac of American Military History by Spencer Tucker.
Okay, excellent source.
Yeah. And this battle was part of the larger New York and New Jersey campaign.
Right?
So, so maybe we should start with a little background on the situation leading up to this battle.
Sure. So we're in October of 1776. Washington's army has just retreated to White Plains, New York.
Okay.
And the British, under General Howe, are trying to cut off their escape route.
Okay. And why was Mamaroneck so important?
Well, as the British were moving into Westchester County, Mamaroneck was a strategically important point. It covered the eastern flank of the British Army.
I see.
And for Howe, who was intent on outmaneuvering Washington, securing Mamaroneck would prevent any surprises from that direction.
Okay.
The Continental Army had actually just abandoned Mamaroneck, and Howe gave the task of securing it to Major Robert Rogers.
Oh, wow. Rogers Rangers.
Yes, Rogers of Rogers Rangers, exactly.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay. So Rogers and his men move in. They secure Mamaroneck.
Right.
But the Americans weren't just going to let him have it, right?
Not at all. So, despite the British having secured Mamaroneck,
Oh, wow.
the Americans under Colonel John Haslet
Okay.
decided to launch a surprise attack on the British encampment.
A surprise attack.
This happened on the night of October 22nd, 1776.
Wow, a night attack. So they're using the cover of darkness to their advantage.
Exactly, and the sources highlight the fact that they achieved complete surprise.
So just imagine that, right? You're a British soldier, it's the middle of the night, you're in your encampment, you think everything's secure,
Right.
and suddenly you're under attack.
Exactly. But what's remarkable here is the resilience of Rogers' Rangers.
Okay.
Even though they were completely taken by surprise, they were able to rally and drive off the American attackers.
I see. So it was a British victory then in the end?
Right. It ultimately ended as a British victory.
Okay. And speaking of victory, do we know anything about the casualties on both sides?
We do. According to our sources, the United States suffered 15 killed or wounded and 36 captured.
Okay.
The British casualties were reported as 30 killed or wounded.
So relatively light casualties compared to some of the bigger battles.
Right.
But every life lost in war is a tragedy, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, these smaller engagements still had a huge impact on the overall morale and strategic decisions of both sides.
Right.
Oh, and one more thing I should mention. This battle is also known as the Skirmish of Heathcote Hill.
Oh, okay. So you might see it referred to by either name. Okay. So we've talked about the surprise attack, we've talked about the British victory, we've talked about the casualties. What would you say are the key takeaways from this look at Mamaroneck?
I think for me the biggest takeaway is this. The Battle of Mamaroneck shows us how fluid and unpredictable the Revolutionary War was, and really any war for that matter.
Right.
You have constant strategic maneuvering, and even seemingly small locations could become strategically vital.
Absolutely.
And we see the willingness of both sides to seize opportunities, even after setbacks.
And it just goes to show you that the war wasn't fought only on the big battlefields.
Right. It was fought in these smaller engagements as well.
And these smaller engagements could have a big impact on the overall course of the war. So as we wrap up, here's something I think is interesting to think about. How did skirmishes like this one at Mamaroneck, how did they influence the bigger decisions made by Washington and Howe as the New York and New Jersey campaign continued? How did these smaller victories and losses, how did they affect morale? How did they affect the overall strategy of the war?
That's a great question. And I think it's something historians are still trying to fully understand today.
Right.
I think it's clear, though, that these smaller engagements were just as important as the big battles in shaping the outcome of the war.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Sure.
So thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
You got it.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.